Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Table S. Table S, she muttered under her breath as she glanced at the seating chart on her phone, her pulse quickening. Hi, you must be Kevin. I'm Samantha. It's nice to meet you, she said, her voice a little too bright, trying to mask the anxiety that twisted in her stomach. Hi, Samantha, he said, his voice low and measured, still a bit confused. I know, blind dates are weird, right? Jenny told me you might be a little quiet, so don't worry. I can talk enough for both of us, she said, offering him a bright, if not slightly awkward, smile. Right. Blind dates are something else, he said softly, clearly amused by her attempt to fill the silence. So, what do you do? She asked, trying to steer the conversation in a new direction. Tech, he replied simply. Tech? Like coding and apps and stuff? I'm terrible with computers. Something like that, he said, his eyes softening just a bit. He seemed amused by her openness, but he said nothing more. Instead, he listened as she continued to talk. You're not what I expected, Samantha said suddenly, her tone thoughtful. What do you mean? Liam asked, raising an eyebrow, clearly curious. Well, Jenny said you were reserved, she said, her cheeks flushing a little at the unintended compliment. But you're actually really easy to talk to. You're easy to talk to, too, he said with a smile. Hey, Samantha, where are you? I'm at table 7. Looking forward to meeting you, Kevin. You're not Kevin, are you? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm so sorry, she muttered, standing abruptly. I sat at the wrong table. This is so embarrassing. What is it about her? He thought as he watched her disappear into the night. As Samantha hurried out of the restaurant, her mind raced with embarrassment. She had made a fool of herself, mistaking a stranger for someone she was supposed to meet. Her face burned with shame as she stepped into the cool night air. She had promised Jenny she would give this blind date a chance, but now it felt like everything was falling apart. She didn't belong in a place like that. It was all too fancy, too polished for someone like her. She couldn't even keep track of which table she was supposed to be at. She stepped onto the sidewalk, pulling her coat tighter around her as she walked away from the restaurant. It wasn't until she had crossed several blocks, and the sound of the city faded into the background, that her thoughts began to calm. Still, her nerves hadn't quite settled. She had to laugh at herself. Of course, she would make a mistake like that. It was just like her to get it all wrong. But there was something about the conversation with the man, Liam, that stuck with her. He wasn't like the usual guy she met in her world. He didn't treat her like a waitress. He treated her like she mattered. The next morning, as Samantha wiped down tables at the diner, she couldn't stop thinking about her awkward encounter. Was it really that big of a deal? Sure, she had run off in a panic, but it wasn't like she'd ever see him again. Or would she? A few days passed, and life went back to normal for Samantha. She worked her shifts, scraped by, and dreamed of a better future. But the memory of Liam lingered, not just because of the mix-up, but because of how easy it had been to talk to him. Something about his presence had made her feel at ease, even if he was nothing like the men she usually dealt with. Then, one evening, as she was about to finish her shift, the door to the diner opened, and in walked a man who immediately caught her attention. He was wearing a sharp suit, a dark coat draped over his arm, and he had the kind of confidence that came from years of success. For a moment, she thought she might have imagined it, but as he walked toward the counter, her heart skipped a beat. It was him, Liam, the man she had mistaken for Kevin. He smiled when he saw her, though there was an almost amused glint in his eyes. Well, looks like we meet again, he said, his voice low and warm, as though he had all the time in the world. Samantha froze for a moment, unsure what to do. Was this fate, or just another awkward coincidence? She forced a smile, her voice shaky. I didn't expect to see you here. Are you here to eat? He chuckled, the sound easy and genuine. Actually, I'm here to talk to you. You remember me, right? Samantha's face turned bright red. She nodded, unsure how to proceed. She had expected to forget this moment, but now it felt like it was pulling her back in. I'm sorry about the other day, Liam said, his tone sincere. I didn't mean to confuse you. I should have corrected you sooner. Samantha waved her hand, still embarrassed. No, don't worry about it. I'm the one who made the mistake. It's fine. She smiled awkwardly, trying to push the memory aside. But Liam wasn't done. Actually, he said, leaning forward just slightly. I came here because I wanted to talk about something else. I've been thinking about our conversation, and I realized something. You're not like the people I usually meet. You're genuine, and that's rare. Samantha blinked in surprise, her heart skipping. What do you mean? She asked, not sure if she was hearing him right. Liam leaned in a little closer, his expression serious now. I'm Liam Parker, he said slowly, as if testing her reaction. I work in tech, and I know you probably didn't expect this, but I actually wanted to offer you something. Samantha blinked again, trying to process what he was saying. Her mind spun as she looked at him. Liam Parker? As in, the Liam Parker? The tech millionaire she'd never imagined would even notice someone like her? What do you mean, offer me something? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam smiled, sensing her hesitation. I know this might seem a little out of nowhere, but I've been trying to find someone who's real, someone who understands hard work, and someone who's not caught up in the superficial world I usually live in. You know, the one where people care more about connections than they do about who you really are. Samantha shook her head, still processing. I don't understand, she said, her confusion growing. What I'm trying to say is, Liam said, pausing for a moment. I'm starting a new project, a foundation that helps people who are trying to turn their lives around, people like you. I think you have the kind of passion and authenticity that could really make a difference. Samantha's breath caught in her throat. You want me to join your foundation? She asked, trying to wrap her head around the idea. Yes, he replied simply. I think you could help us. And I'd like to offer you a chance to work with us, maybe even help you get started with your art studio, if that's what you want. The words hung in the air between them, a mix of disbelief and possibility swirling in Samantha's mind. Could this really be happening? Was this some kind of mistake, or had she really just been offered an opportunity like this by a tech millionaire who had once been a stranger? She didn't know what to say. She didn't know if she should trust him, or if this was just another way for him to prove some point. But the sincerity in his eyes made her think that maybe, just maybe, this was real. I don't know what to say, she said finally, her voice soft. This is all so unexpected. Liam smiled, his expression gentle. You don't have to decide right away. Just think about it. I believe in you, Samantha, and I think you have a lot more to offer than you realize. Samantha stood there for a moment, the weight of his words sinking in. This wasn't just about a job or a project. This was about her dreams, and what might be possible if she took a chance. Could she trust him? And if she did, could she finally start to believe in herself, too? The days following Liam's offer were a whirlwind for Samantha. She spent her days working at the diner, her mind constantly drifting back to the conversation she had with him. Every time she tried to focus on her tasks, his words echoed in her mind. I believe in you, Samantha. Those words held so much weight, and she didn't know whether to embrace them or push them aside as just another well-intentioned gesture from a rich stranger. But deep down, she knew something had shifted. She could feel it, even if she couldn't explain it. One evening, just after her shift, Samantha found herself sitting in the small apartment she rented, sketchbook open in front of her, yet her hands sat still, unable to draw. She had so many ideas, but the uncertainty of her future weighed her down. She had always dreamed of opening her own art studio, but how could she do that? How could she take that leap when everything around her was unstable? And now, Liam's offer to work with his foundation, a project that was so far removed from her life. Could she really step into that world? The phone buzzed on the table, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a message from Jenny. Have you decided yet? Samantha stared at the screen for a moment, wondering how to answer. She didn't have an answer. At least, not one she was ready to share. Samantha had spent so many years convincing herself that the dream she had was just that, something distant and out of reach. But now, Liam's offer felt like a chance, a real one. The very idea of working on a project that could change lives, including her own, filled her with both excitement and fear. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every thought seemed to circle back to him, Liam. His sincerity, his confidence in her. She thought back to the restaurant, how he had spoken to her like she mattered, like she wasn't just another face in the crowd. It felt so strange, so foreign to her. He had seen something in her that she had long since stopped believing in herself. The next morning, after another long shift at the diner, Samantha found herself standing in front of a small coffee shop near her apartment. Her hands trembled as she picked up her phone and dialed the number Liam had given her. He had told her she could reach out whenever she was ready, but now that the moment had come, she wasn't sure what to say. The phone rang, and after a few seconds, he picked up. "Samantha?" His voice was warm, calm. "Hi, Liam," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've been thinking about your offer. A lot. And I think I'm ready." There was a pause on the other end of the line before he spoke again. "That's great to hear," he said. "I knew you would. We can start whenever you're ready. I'll set up a meeting with the team and we'll go over everything." Samantha's heart raced. "Thank you," she said, feeling a rush of gratitude. "Thank you for believing in me." "You don't have to thank me," Liam replied. "You've always had it in you. I'm just here to help you find it." After hanging up, Samantha stood there in the coffee shop, the phone still in her hand. It was happening. She was actually going to do this. The path ahead was still unclear, but for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of hope. This wasn't just some fleeting offer. It was an opportunity to change her life. And for the first time, she felt ready. She walked back to her apartment with a renewed sense of purpose. Her mind raced with possibilities. How could she contribute to the foundation? How could she make a real impact? And what did this mean for her art studio? Could she finally make her dreams come true? Not just for herself, but for others too? She knew it wasn't going to be easy, but for the first time, she felt like she had the chance to make something of herself. She had a real chance to create the life she had always dreamed of. The next few days were a blur. Samantha met with Liam and the team behind the foundation. They discussed their goals, their projects, and the opportunities available. It was overwhelming at first, but with every conversation, she felt more confident in her place among them. It was clear that this was more than just a job. It was a chance to make a difference. But it wasn't just about the foundation. Samantha also began working on her art again. The spark of inspiration that had once seemed so distant now felt closer than ever. She started sketching, creating with a passion she hadn't felt in years. For the first time, she wasn't just drawing for herself. She was drawing for a future she could finally believe in. And as she worked, she couldn't help but think about Liam. He had offered her more than just a job. He had given her the chance to believe in herself again, and that was something she would never take for granted. As the days turned into weeks, Samantha settled into her new life. The foundation work was challenging but fulfilling, and her art was blossoming in ways she hadn't imagined. She felt like she was finally on the right path. She was no longer just a waitress with dreams too big for her reality. She was someone who could make a difference, and maybe, just maybe, someone who could create the life she had always wanted. One evening, as she was putting the finishing touches on a new piece of art, her phone buzzed again. It was a message from Liam. "How's everything going? I hope you're feeling settled in." Samantha smiled as she read the message. She typed back, "I'm doing great. Thank you for everything. I don't think I could have done this without you." Her phone buzzed again, and when she looked at the screen, there was a simple reply from Liam. "You've done all the hard work. I just gave you the chance." Samantha stared at the message for a long moment, her heart full. Maybe this was just the beginning of a new chapter. And with that thought, she finally allowed herself to believe that anything was possible. Weeks passed, and Samantha's life began to take shape in ways she never expected. She was settling into her role at the foundation, and with each new project, she found herself growing more confident. She had made connections, learned new skills, and for the first time in her life, she felt like she was actually making a difference. It was all so overwhelming, yet incredibly fulfilling. But amidst the excitement of her new life, there was still one question that lingered in her mind. What about Liam? Since their last conversation, they had kept in touch, but things were always professional. He'd offer guidance and support, but their interactions were limited to work-related matters. Samantha had tried to push aside the thoughts that kept creeping in, the thoughts that made her wonder if Liam was still the same person she had met that day in the restaurant, the person who had seen something in her that no one else had. But she couldn't ignore the way his words had stuck with her. "I believe in you." And with that belief, she had begun to believe in herself. One evening, after a particularly long day of meetings and brainstorming sessions, Samantha decided to take a break. She walked through the city streets. her mind wandering, when she spotted a small gallery that was hosting a new exhibition. It wasn't much, just a little place tucked between two larger buildings, but the bright lights beckoned her inside. As she walked through the door, she felt a wave of nostalgia. The space smelled like fresh paint and new ideas. It reminded her of her own dreams, the ones she had once thought were impossible. The gallery was filled with vibrant artwork, each piece telling a story of its own. Samantha wandered from one painting to the next, feeling a sense of peace wash over her. It wasn't until she turned a corner that she stopped in her tracks. There, in front of her, was a painting that looked strikingly familiar. It was one of her sketches. The lines, the colors, the energy, everything was exactly how she had imagined it. For a moment, Samantha thought she might be dreaming. But when she looked closer, she saw a small tag next to the painting. It read, "The Art of Samantha Brooks." Her heart skipped a beat as she realized what had happened. Her work was being displayed. And not just in any gallery, but in a place where people could see it, appreciate it. It was happening. Her dream was starting to come true. As she stood there, taking in the sight of her art hanging on the walls, she felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned around, and to her surprise, it was Liam. He was standing there with a slight smile on his face, looking more relaxed than she had ever seen him. "I thought I might find you here," he said, his voice calm and warm. Samantha blinked, still trying to process everything. How did you know?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam shrugged slightly, his expression softening. "I knew you were ready. You've come a long way, Samantha, and I wanted to be here to see it." Samantha felt her breath catch in her throat. "I don't even know what to say," she said, her hands trembling slightly. I never imagined it would happen like this." Liam smiled, his eyes warm with understanding. "Sometimes, the best things happen when we least expect them. You've done the hard work, Samantha. I'm just here to support you." For a moment, they stood in silence, just taking in the moment. Samantha couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude toward him. It wasn't just about the gallery or the opportunity at the foundation. It was about the belief he had in her, the belief that had helped her believe in herself. As the evening went on, Samantha found herself talking to Liam more than she had in weeks. Their conversation flowed easily, as if no time had passed at all. They talked about her art, about the foundation, about everything that had happened since they had last spoken. But as the night drew to a close, Samantha felt a sense of unease settle over her. She had worked so hard to get to this point, and now that she was here, she wasn't sure what came next. Was she truly ready to embrace this new chapter of her life? Liam seemed to sense her hesitation. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder, offering her a reassuring smile. "You don't have to have all the answers right now," he said softly. "What matters is that you're here, and you're making it happen. One step at a time." Samantha nodded slowly, feeling a sense of peace wash over her. She didn't have to have everything figured out. She had come so far already. And with Liam's support, she knew she could continue moving forward. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. As she left the gallery that night, Samantha walked through the streets with a renewed sense of purpose. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time, it didn't seem so daunting. She had found something in herself that she had been searching for all along, belief. And with that belief, she knew she could accomplish anything. The days following that night at the gallery felt like a blur to Samantha. Everything was moving so quickly, yet in the best way possible. Her art was now being recognized, and she had started to believe in her own talent in ways she never thought possible. The foundation work was fulfilling, and with each new project, she felt more connected to the purpose she had always wanted to find. But amid all the excitement, there was still a quiet uncertainty inside her, an uncertainty about what she truly wanted. Despite all the changes, there were moments when Samantha would stop and wonder if she was truly ready for everything that was happening in her life. She had gone from being a waitress with a dream to someone who was actively shaping her future, but now, the future seemed both thrilling and terrifying. The support from Liam and the foundation had given her the tools she needed, but could she handle the responsibility that came with it all? Could she truly live up to the expectations that had been set for her? It wasn't long before those questions found their way into her conversations with Liam. They had spent more time together, working on projects and discussing ideas, but there were still moments when Samantha could feel the distance between them. It was subtle, but it was there. She couldn't help but wonder if he saw her differently now. After all, he was a successful entrepreneur, and she was still the girl from the diner, struggling to find her footing. One evening, as they were wrapping up a meeting for one of the foundation's upcoming events, Liam looked at Samantha with a thoughtful expression. "You've come so far in such a short time," he said, his voice gentle. "I'm really proud of you." Samantha smiled, grateful for his words, but a part of her felt uneasy. She wasn't sure how to respond, how to explain the mix of emotions she was feeling. "Thank you, Liam," she said, her voice soft. "I really appreciate everything you've done for me. But sometimes, I wonder if I'm ready for all of this. I mean, everything is moving so fast. I'm trying to figure it all out." Liam leaned back in his chair, his gaze never leaving hers. "You don't have to have all the answers right now, Samantha. You've already taken the hardest step. You've believed in yourself enough to start. That's something most people never do." Samantha's heart swelled at his words, but there was still a lingering doubt. "I just don't want to disappoint you," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam's expression softened, and he stood up, walking around the table to where she was sitting. He placed a hand on her shoulder, a small, reassuring gesture. "You won't disappoint me. You're not here to live up to my expectations. You're here to live up to your own. And you're already doing that, Samantha." His words felt like a weight had been lifted from her chest, but she still wasn't entirely convinced. "I'm still figuring it out, though? I mean, I'm not used to all of this. It's a lot." Liam smiled, his voice calm. "That's okay. Life isn't about having everything figured out right away. It's about taking it one step at a time. And you've already taken more steps than most people ever do." For a moment, they stood in silence, the weight of their conversation settling in. Samantha felt something shift in her, a sense of peace she hadn't realized she was missing. It wasn't about having everything in place. It was about trusting herself to move forward, even when she didn't have all the answers. As they wrapped up their meeting, Liam mentioned that there was an upcoming gala for the foundation, and he invited her to attend as his guest. Samantha felt a mix of excitement and nerves at the invitation. This gala was different from the ones she had attended before. It wasn't just another event. It was an opportunity to be part of something bigger, to be surrounded by people who shared her passion for making a difference. But it also felt like a test, a moment that could define what came next for her. The night of the gala arrived, and Samantha found herself standing in front of a full-length mirror, adjusting her dress. She had never felt more out of place in her life, but as she looked at herself, she realized that she had come a long way. She was no longer the girl who walked into a fancy restaurant and ran away in embarrassment. She was someone who belonged, who had worked hard to get to where she was. And tonight, she would take another step forward. When she arrived at the venue, the atmosphere was nothing short of breathtaking. The grand hall was filled with guests in elegant attire, all gathered to support the foundation's mission. Samantha felt the familiar flutter of nerves in her stomach, but this time, she didn't let it overwhelm her. She found Liam almost immediately, standing near the stage, surrounded by a group of people. When he saw her, his face lit up with a smile that made her heart skip a beat. "You made it," he said, walking over to greet her. "You look incredible." Samantha smiled, grateful for his words. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady. "This is all a bit overwhelming, but I'm glad to be here." Liam gave her a reassuring nod. "You're exactly where you're supposed to be." As the evening unfolded, Samantha found herself speaking with other attendees, sharing her passion for the foundation's work and her own dreams for the future. It was a world she had never imagined herself in, yet it felt like it was becoming more and more her own. By the end of the night, Samantha felt a sense of fulfillment she hadn't expected. She wasn't just there as a guest, she was part of something. She had made her mark, and that meant more than she had ever thought possible. As the gala came to a close, Liam walked up to her with a quiet smile. "You did great tonight," he said. "I'm proud of you." For the first time, Samantha felt truly proud of herself, too. She had taken the leap, and it was paying off. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time, she didn't need to have all the answers. She was ready to face whatever came next, one step at a time. The days after the gala were a blur of excitement and new opportunities for Samantha. She had never imagined herself standing in front of so many influential people, confidently speaking about the work she was now a part of. The feeling was surreal, and yet, something inside her had shifted. She had started to truly believe in her ability to make a difference, not just in the foundation, but in her own life. She was no longer the unsure, nervous woman who had walked into that restaurant months ago. She was someone who was beginning to realize her potential. But despite all of the progress she had made, there were moments when the weight of the changes in her life would overwhelm her. The pressure to succeed, to meet the expectations she had set for herself and that others had of her, sometimes felt like too much. There were nights when she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she was doing the right thing. Was she truly ready for the responsibility that came with this new life? Was she really capable of handling it all? One evening, after a particularly difficult day at the foundation, Samantha sat on the small balcony of her apartment, gazing out at the city below. The sounds of the bustling streets drifted up to her, but she felt disconnected from it all. Her thoughts were heavy, and for the first time in a while, she felt lost. It was in those quiet moments of doubt that she remembered the words Liam had said to her months ago. "You've done the hard work, Samantha. I'm just here to help you find it." The phone in her hand buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a message from Liam. "I know things have been a lot lately, but I wanted to check in. How are you holding up?" Samantha stared at the message for a moment before typing a response. "I'm doing okay, just feeling a little overwhelmed. I'm trying to keep up with everything, but some days it feels like too much." Within seconds, Liam replied, "I understand. It's a lot, and you're doing great. Just remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Take it one step at a time. You've got this." Samantha smiled softly at his words. It was exactly what she needed to hear. She didn't have to have everything figured out right away. She could take things at her own pace and trust that the steps she was taking were leading her in the right direction. The next day, Samantha found herself at a crossroads. She had received an offer to be a featured speaker at an upcoming conference for young entrepreneurs. It was an incredible opportunity, one that could open doors for her, but it also made her nervous. She had never spoken in front of a crowd that large before, and the idea of standing on a stage, talking about her journey, was both exhilarating and terrifying. She sat in her small office at the foundation, the invitation in front of her, her fingers tapping nervously on the desk. It felt like the next big step, an opportunity to share her story, to inspire others the way Liam had inspired her. But what if she failed? What if she couldn't live up to the expectations? Her phone buzzed again, this time with a call from Liam. She took a deep breath before answering, trying to push away the anxiety in her chest. "Hey, Liam," she said, her voice a little more tense than she intended. "Hey, Samantha," he replied, his voice calm and soothing. "I saw the invitation. It's an incredible opportunity, but I know it's a lot to take in. How are you feeling about it?" Samantha paused, her thoughts swirling. I'm excited, but also really scared. I've never done something like this before. What if I mess up? What if I'm not good enough?" Liam's response was immediate and reassuring. "Samantha, you've already done more than most people ever will. You've taken risks, you've stepped out of your comfort zone, and you're already inspiring people. This is just the next step in that journey. You don't need to be perfect. Just be yourself, and that's enough." His words gave her the courage to take a deeper breath. "Thanks, Liam. I don't know why I doubt myself so much." "We all do," he said. "But you've already proven to yourself that you're capable of so much. You don't need to have all the answers right now. Just trust the process and take it one step at a time. You'll do great, Samantha. I believe in you." Hearing those words once again, the same words he had said to her when they first met, Samantha felt something inside her shift. She wasn't in this alone. She had a support system, people who believed in her, who were rooting for her every step of the way. She smiled, feeling a sense of calm wash over her. "Okay," she said, the fear in her voice starting to dissipate. "I'll do it. I'll speak at the conference." "I'm proud of you," Liam said, his voice warm. "And I'll be there to support you every step of the way." Samantha hung up the phone, feeling more confident than she had in days. She had made a decision. It wasn't about being perfect, it was about showing up and doing her best. With Liam's support, and the belief she had slowly built in herself, she was ready to take this next step. The day of the conference arrived, and as Samantha stood backstage, preparing to take the stage, her nerves were still there, but they were no longer overwhelming. She had worked hard to get to this point, and now it was time to trust herself. As the lights dimmed and the audience began to settle, she stepped forward, ready to share her story. The applause from the crowd greeted her as she walked onto the stage. For the first time, she didn't feel like an imposter. She was exactly where she was meant to be. The applause from the crowd echoed in Samantha's ears as she stepped onto the stage. Her heart raced, but this time, it wasn't with fear. It was with excitement, with a sense of purpose that she had never felt before. The stage lights were bright, blinding almost, but she focused on the faces in the audience, on the opportunity in front of her. She had made it this far, and she wasn't about to let fear stop her now. As she began speaking, her voice trembled slightly, but the words came easier than she expected. "Good afternoon, everyone," Samantha began, her voice gaining strength with each word. "My name is Samantha Brooks, and I'm here to tell you that it's never too late to change your life. I'm proof of that. Not long ago, I was just a waitress, struggling to get by, dreaming of something more. But through a combination of hard work, a little bit of luck, and some really incredible people believing in me, I'm standing here today, sharing my story with you." She paused for a moment, letting the words sink in, feeling the weight of her journey settle in her chest. She could feel the eyes of the audience on her, but instead of shying away, she stood taller, knowing she had earned this moment. "I'm not here to talk about how easy it is to follow your dreams. It's not easy. It takes time, sacrifice, and a lot of hard decisions. But I'm here to tell you that it's possible. If I can do it, you can too. And no matter where you start, no matter where you come from, there is always a way forward." As she spoke, Samantha felt a warmth spread through her, a sense of belonging. She was no longer the person who doubted herself at every turn. She was someone who had taken risks, failed, and gotten back up. And now, she was sharing her story to help others do the same. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word, and for the first time in her life, Samantha felt like she was truly making a difference. She had found her voice, her purpose, and it was powerful. When she finished speaking, there was a moment of silence. And then, the applause started. It wasn't just polite clapping. It was genuine, heartfelt, and it filled her with a sense of pride she had never known. She had done it. She had stepped onto that stage, told her story, and made an impact. After the event, people came up to her, offering their congratulations and sharing how much her words had resonated with them. She couldn't believe it. She had inspired others, just by being herself, just by telling the truth about her journey. Later that evening, as she sat in her hotel room, reflecting on the day, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. "I'm so proud of you, Samantha. You were incredible today." She smiled as she typed back, her fingers moving quickly across the screen. "Thank you, Liam. I couldn't have done it without your support." His reply came almost immediately. "You've always had this in you. I just helped you find it. You're doing amazing things, Samantha. Keep going." As she put her phone down, Samantha felt a surge of gratitude. She had come so far, and there was still so much ahead of her. She had made a name for herself, not because of her title, but because of her courage to keep going, to keep showing up, and to keep believing in herself. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time, she was excited about what was to come. In that moment, Samantha realized that everything she had worked for, all the challenges she had faced, had led her here. And now, with Liam's words still echoing in her mind, she knew that the journey was just beginning. The weeks following the conference were filled with a sense of accomplishment for Samantha. She had spoken to an audience, shared her story, and most importantly, inspired others. It was a turning point in her life. She felt a shift in herself, a deep sense of purpose that she had never experienced before. The confidence she had gained from that moment started to spill over into every other aspect of her life. The foundation's projects were thriving, and she was finding her rhythm, balancing her passion for art and her newfound purpose in helping others. One afternoon, as she sat in the office at the foundation, reviewing documents and planning for an upcoming event, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. "Hey, Samantha. How's everything going? I've been meaning to talk to you about something important. Can we meet for dinner?" She quickly typed back, eager to hear what he had to say. "Of course. What's going on? Let me know when and where, and I'll be there." Less than an hour later, they met at a quiet, cozy restaurant, one of Liam's favorites. The soft glow of the candles on the table created a warm, intimate atmosphere, and Samantha couldn't help but feel a little nervous. She had grown used to their professional relationship, but tonight, something felt different. As they sat down, Liam looked at her with a serious expression, something that immediately caught Samantha's attention. "Samantha," he began, his voice steady. "I've been thinking a lot about everything we've talked about, your journey, your growth, and the work you've done at the foundation." Samantha listened closely, her curiosity piqued. "I've been thinking a lot about it too," she admitted, her eyes meeting his. He took a deep breath, as if gathering his thoughts. "I've seen how much you've grown, how much potential you have. And I've also seen your hesitation. You've been holding back, not fully allowing yourself to step into the next phase of your life. And I think it's time for you to take that next step. But I'm not sure if you're ready for it." Samantha's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure if she was prepared for what he was about to say next. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam leaned forward, his expression serious. "I'm offering you a position at the foundation, one that would allow you to take on more leadership. I think you're ready for it, but I want you to really think about it before you make a decision. It's a big responsibility, and it would change everything." The words hung in the air between them, and for a moment, Samantha was speechless. She had always dreamed of leading her own projects, of having a larger impact on the world, but the weight of the responsibility suddenly felt overwhelming. "Liam, I don't know," she said, shaking her head. "I'm still figuring out how to balance everything. I don't know if I'm ready for more responsibility." Liam smiled gently, his eyes filled with understanding. "I know it's a lot, but I've seen what you're capable of, Samantha. You've already proven to yourself that you can handle more than you think. The foundation and the people we work with need someone like you. Someone who has the passion, the drive, and the heart to make a real difference." Samantha took a deep breath, her mind racing. She had come so far, but was she truly ready for the leap? The decision felt huge, and the fear of failing loomed over her. But she knew that she couldn't keep doubting herself forever. "I don't know if I'm ready," she said honestly, her voice trembling slightly. "But I want to try. I want to believe that I can do it." Liam nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. "That's all I need to hear. Just take the leap, Samantha. You don't have to have all the answers right away. The most important thing is that you believe in yourself." The conversation shifted to other topics after that, but Samantha's mind was still racing. She didn't have all the answers, but for the first time in a long while, she wasn't scared to try. The fear that had once held her back was slowly being replaced by a quiet determination. She was ready to take the next step, whatever that might be. As they finished dinner, Liam walked her to her car. "I'm proud of you, Samantha," he said, his voice warm. "And I know you're going to do great things." "Thank you," Samantha replied, her heart swelling with gratitude. "For everything. I'll think about it. I promise." As she drove home that night, she couldn't stop thinking about what Liam had said. She had always been afraid of taking the next step, of truly stepping into her potential. But now, something inside her was shifting. She didn't have to have everything figured out. She just had to take the leap and trust that everything else would fall into place. As the days passed after her dinner with Liam, Samantha found herself at a crossroads. She had spent so much of her life doubting herself, second-guessing her every move. But now she stood on the edge of something new. The opportunity at the foundation was there, waiting for her to step into it. But with it came the weight of responsibility, the pressure of leading something bigger than herself. Could she do it? Could she live up to her own potential and the belief others had in her? The more Samantha thought about it, the more she realized that the only thing holding her back was her own fear. The fear of failure, of not being enough. But what if she didn't let that fear stop her? What if she embraced the chance to prove to herself that she could do it? She had come so far already, from the girl who had worked in a diner, to someone who now had a real impact on the world. She had built this new version of herself, and it was time to trust that she was ready for what came next. That night, after another long day at the foundation, Samantha sat in her apartment, the same one she had walked into months ago, unsure of her place in the world. But tonight, the room felt different. She didn't feel lost anymore. She was ready. She picked up her phone and dialed Liam's number, her heart racing slightly with anticipation. "Hey, Liam," she said when he picked up. "I've been thinking about everything you said, and I've made my decision." There was a brief silence on the other end. Then Liam's voice, calm and encouraging, "What's your decision?" Samantha took a deep breath. "I'm ready. I'm ready to take the next step. I want to accept the position at the foundation. I want to lead, and I'm ready to believe in myself." She could hear the smile in Liam's voice. That's incredible, Samantha. I knew you had it in you. The weight that had been hanging over her for days finally lifted, and for the first time in a long time, Samantha felt at peace. She wasn't afraid anymore. She had found her purpose, and now she was stepping fully into it. In the weeks that followed, Samantha took on her new role at the foundation. It wasn't always easy. There were long hours, tough decisions, and moments of doubt. But she never backed down. Every challenge only solidified her belief in herself. She was doing something that mattered, and every step forward made her feel more empowered. One afternoon, as she was working late in the office, Liam stopped by to check on her. He leaned against the doorframe, watching her for a moment before speaking. "How are you holding up?" he asked, his voice warm. Samantha smiled up at him. "I'm doing great. It's a lot, but I'm really enjoying it. I feel like I'm finally doing what I was meant to do." Liam nodded, clearly proud of her. "I always knew you were capable of this. You've grown so much." Samantha looked at him, a smile spreading across her face. "I couldn't have done it without your support, Liam. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." He smiled back, his eyes soft. "You had it in you all along. I just helped you see it." As the months went by, Samantha continued to thrive at the foundation, building her team, creating new projects, and expanding her impact. She also found more time for her art, which had always been her passion. The life she had dreamed of was slowly becoming a reality, piece by piece. And as she stood in the gallery one evening, looking at a new exhibit of her work, this time, one she had curated herself, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had come so far from the girl who walked into that restaurant months ago, uncertain of her place in the world. Now, she was someone who had found her voice, her purpose, and her strength. Her phone buzzed again. It was a message from Liam. "I'm proud of you, Samantha. You've come so far, and I can't wait to see where you go next." She smiled, her heart full. "Thank you," she typed back, "for everything. I couldn't have done it without you." As she put her phone down, Samantha looked around at the art that now filled the walls, the projects that had grown into something bigger than she had ever imagined, and the life she had built for herself. She knew that the journey wasn't over. There was still so much more to do, so much more to give. But for the first time, she was certain of one thing. She was exactly where she was meant to be. And that, she realized, was enough.